massive trade update coming out of New England. An NFL.com report proposes the trading of 2 key pieces for the New England Patriots that could pay dividends for the Patriots now and in the future. And we're going to break it down here on Patriots Digest. And let's just get right into it. 2 more Patriots players named as trade candidates after Joshua Uche's move. That trade was to the Kansas City Chiefs for a 6th-round pick, and that pick, I'm glad we're getting more draft capital because he wasn't going to come back to the roster anyways. We did move him to the Chiefs. That's going to bolster them, but we do get picks out of it. That pick's going to be towards the later part of the draft, most likely. But hey, more picks is more picks. We're going with the Thunder motive and the Thunder method of let's get as much capital as possible and we'll move it from there. I do like that move. The NFL trade deadline is approaching, and 2 New England Patriots players have been considered as potential trade candidates. Wide receiver Kendrick Bourne and wide receiver KJ Osborn, 2 quality slot receivers in the NFL today. Kendrick Bourne for the Patriots has been there for a few years. He did have a big playoff game against the Buffalo Bills in his last playoff game, about 77 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. KJ Osborn in his last playoff game with the Vikings, they played the Giants. They ended up losing that game, but he did score a touchdown in that game. So 2 viable options here in the NFL. And this came from Ian Rappaport, and this came from Tom Pellicello of NFL.com. While Kendrick Bourne, the receiver who has garnered most of the trade rumors, it would take a large deal to pry him from New England. A more likely trade possibility as a veteran option is Kendrick Bourne, who is on a 1-year deal and has thrived elsewhere. He did have a good rapport with Kirk Cousins while he was there. They had Justin Jefferson. They had TJ Hawkinson, and they also had him as a 3rd option there. Him as a 3rd option in the slot. He's a good route runner, good hands, knows how to find the soft spots in zones, knows how to beat man coverage. So whoever is going to get him, maybe the Bucs now that Chris Godwin's out, Mike Evans is out, maybe the Steelers now that Russell Wilson's there and their passing attack seems to be a higher quality and of higher need and necessity, and maybe another team, possibly the Bills have something. We wouldn't trade with the Bills, but the Texans, with them having Stephon Diggs out, Nico Collins has missed time, Tank Dell has been injury prone, possibly there. But we have a lot of people could use a Kendrick Bourne and could use a KJ Osborn. There's a lot of pieces that we could get back, and KJ Osborn would be a solid pick, I think a 5th. Kendrick Bourne could be a 4th and maybe something else, possibly up to a 3rd. I mean, we did trade a 2nd for Mohamed Sanu, and a 2nd went for Emmanuel Sanders a few years back, so it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to get a 3rd for Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne here, we'll blow it up a little bit more so you can see he's 6'1", 205, 29 in his 8th season, so he is a veteran in this league, knows how to play. He was in San Francisco for a long period of time. Throughout his time in San Francisco, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns was his peak season. That was actually in New England. He showed to be a good piece for us, and I've very much enjoyed having Kendrick Bourne. So keeping him on the roster to get a veteran with Drake Maye for the future would be good. But at the same time, we are not playing for this season. We're playing for the seasons coming. So this trade would mean big things for the New England Patriots, and it's something that I am excited about because I do think, what do we need him for right now? We hopefully are going to get some players in the future, possibly in the draft or in free agency, because we could have a good free agent class headlined by someone like T. Higgins, and from there we can move on. Obviously, Ayuk got his deal. Jamar Chase is probably going to get a massive deal. There are multiple pieces here that are going to be receivers that are going to be getting deals, but there will be receivers out there. So Kendrick Bourne, would love to keep him because he is a good option for us, but at the same time, if he does go, we could get a lot back for Kendrick Bourne. Then KJ Osborn, 6', 200, same kind of build. And the thing with New England that we have is everyone's within that 5'10", 6 foot range. Good route runners, meant to be slots. And we just have 4 slot, because Demario Douglas, he's a little shorter, but we just have slot guys. Just a bunch of slot guys, and then we have Kayshon Boutte, and then we've got Jalen Polk, 2 other guys who aren't going to really stretch the defense. Boutte can get down the field a little bit more. Jalen Polk, we don't know what's there yet. We're going to have him get into his right mindset before we think of anything with him. But KJ Osborn, another guy who has been able to produce in this league, as I talked about with Kirk Cousins, 655 and then 650 in back-to-back seasons, a few touchdowns. He's gone down in touchdowns every year, but also the targets have gone down for the most part, so you're not going to get that same level of production. Teams could use him, and a 5th would be great for him. I believe we could move him for a 5th. I understand Uchi moved for a 6th. And the fact that he's on a 1-year deal possibly could make that go from a 5th to a 6th, just because teams know they're not going to keep him anyway. They're not going to be able to retain him, and he's not someone that is high on their radar. So what would be the need to really pay a premium for him if we don't have to? But there are teams that are in necessity for wide receivers. I think New England should look into trading both of these players, because KJ Osborn, not a necessity. We're not going to keep him. And then Kendrick Bourne, even though he's good and I think he could help out, he's almost 30. I don't see him wanting to fully be there, but I also don't think it's the worst thing in the world. These 2 trade assets, though, Patriots are in rebuild, and I love to see them in rebuild, because they've finally realized that the only thing that we care about is the future of our quarterback. They need to get the offensive line settled, and what can you do more than that? Either get picks to trade for offensive linemen. You have a lot of money, so you can get really eager, but you don't want to be too eager, but you can get eager and you can get pricey in the offseason, where you can give people the money they deserve. They did have that one big offseason a few years back where they kind of were overpaying. That was the Hunter Henry, the Austin Hooper, the one where we actually got Kendrick Bourne. That free agency where we're trying to get a lot of pieces around these people. But around the quarterbacks that we had, I was at Mac Jones, I believe, at the time. But big, major trade updates here in New England. Ian Rappaport reports it, then that's something that you've got to keep your eye on, and that's something that I am very eager to see what happens and what we will be able to get for these pieces. But you guys let me know in the comments whether you think that Kendrick Bourne would be a good addition or a good subtraction if we can get something back for him. If you think KJ Osborn would be the one that you would rather see go, or maybe both of them. Let me know what you guys think about these potential big trade pieces for us, because I do think the more picks we can get, the bigger it will be. But this has been Patriots Digest with your host, Keenan Warner. I appreciate all of you guys, and I will see you guys very soon.